one of the things that's a challenge for you is you're thinking too much.
Yeah.
And you wanna think throughout your 7 chakras and feel that. I want you to talk to that your past self like you're talking to your inner child.
Yeah.
The inner child doesn't need to be slapped in the face. Doesn't need to be in any of those things.
Hugged.
Yeah. Because I am thankful for the mentors that did do that to me, but they're not around.
Yeah.
They're not around. I'm thankful for them. I would see them every once in a while. I say compliments, and they were kind of like didn't even like the compliments because things didn't work out because of the way that they're being too. And I don't mind sometimes being that guy for people.
Yeah.
But I know that's not the best I have to offer. So for yourself, have more compassion when you're talking to your past and future self, because you're not like that to anybody else. I mean, that as far as I've seen.
Yeah, and that's a really good point.
Why would you do it to yourself?
Why do we do that to ourselves? Why are we so like, again, this is a really good example of how those narratives like get seeped into our psyche, and we believe that it's us, and really it's not us. It's internalized oppression, internalized suppression, and it doesn't really reflect that true voice. And I like that you're saying like talk through your 7 chakras, and I want to just take a moment to like think through your 7 chakras, because let's talk about that for a moment for folks that aren't really familiar with what this idea of chakras are. So that's a what region is that?
India?
It's India. It's oh gosh, I'm sorry, I can't think of the philosophy that it's connected to. But yes, it's connected to
Hindu.
the country. Yes, Hinduism.
Krishna.
And within that philosophy or belief system, that is a word that they use to represent the in-body 7 energy centers. That doesn't mean that those are the only energy centers. They just speak on the major energy centers in the body. Within the Maya philosophy, they also have energy centers in the body. They also have 7 energy centers in the body. They're located a little bit differently, and they're called chakras. So the K is an L. Similar words, right? Interesting. And these energy centers are major points in our body where other energy centers, like for instance, we have energy centers in our hand, and they connect to our heart space. And of course,
that gives a new meaning to spirit fingers.
Yeah, right? So this process that Steve has been sharing around thinking through, it reminds me of one of my early mentoring experiences when I was trying to meditate. And I was like, I can't meditate, I can't quiet my overactive brain, like it just keeps taking me in all these ways. And at the time, I was learning from a monk from the Himalayan mountains. So he was a Swami, very like profound. And a suggestion that was given was, instead of trying to meditate here through my thoughts, I needed to bring the energy into my heart space, and I needed to speak through here. And then later, when I was mastering the process of going into the Akashic records, so for those that are unfamiliar, it's just a dimension that we're able to kind of access the consciousness of the planet, and it's much like a library of information. So I was wanting to tap into my lineage, and I was doing some ancestral healing on my body at that time. And I employed that same tactic of dropping it into my heart and dropping it into my energy centers to think through my questions that I wanted to get from this library. And so it is very true that when we practice this process of bringing all of the like powerful energy that we have here in the mind and we drop it into our body states, it actually is helping merge the air energy with the earth or the water energy of our body. And that could be really powerful because, again, we are talking all about how to become your avatar. Well, how do you do that? Well, first you acknowledge your innate element that you have, that you're born with. Then you start practicing those other elements, and then you merge them. And that's how you become that full avatar. So that's a really good example of how we can do that.
So one of the things, there's more thinking going on in your heart than there is in your brain.
100%.
And there's more thinking going on in your gut.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then more than the three, even though the three involved us, in each one of your individual cells, there's more thinking than there is in your heart.
A whole universe, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Inside every cell.
And a lot of times, adversity is the thing, because we're human, that breaks us out of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Adversity is a lot of times it's our suffocation that is the reminder for us to breathe.
That's a really profound statement, Steve. Damn, write that down, y'all.
Especially you, Kevin.
Sure.
Especially you, Kevin.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, earlier you were going to share something with me because my shoulder, which is it's moving very very well right now. It hadn't been moving that today is because of, and you can go into the fact that it's my left shoulder and the feminine nature of that, because of a lot of stress with my mom with dementia, needing extra attention, so she has to be in a nursing home facility, and obviously this isn't about me, it's about my relationship with my mom, but it's caused a lot of stress for me. But it's my mom. I mean, who else would I do this for? But one of the things that I was sharing with you, tell me the process of when you, in the past, went through something like that, of how you were able to help that. Share that with the audience and also with me.
Yeah, for sure. So some years back, as I was starting my process of understanding energy healing, or this idea that your body can heal itself, and that we have an energy body and we have an auric field and all these things, I was diving into the body and the way that the body actually keeps a score, if you will, a tally of all the things we've endured. And so from like a scientific perspective or a trauma-informed perspective, there's a lot of science out there that actually, there's a book called The Body Keeps a Score by Bessel van Polk, I believe is the last name, if you're interested in that type of stuff. And there's a lot of evidence out there in conversation how the body and the nervous system and the actual fascia system actually holds on to a lot of emotional memory. And so physical pains and things that we experience actually are connected to a lot of our childhood traumas, or a lot of things that we have experienced that we have yet to release. So it's stuck in our body. And I was exploring this for my mental health consultant hat that I wear, really wanting to understand that to help the people that I help. But also, I was resonating with that for myself. And so it actually encouraged me to do this whole deep dive on this other aspect, the metaphysical stuff that isn't really spoken of in those types of texts. And I started learning that, one, our different sides of our body reflect the different energy that we carry, both the masculine and the feminine. So the right side is the masculine side. It's going to hold the information and the memory of maybe that masculine male lineage. Maybe it's going to represent all the aspects of our masculine energy around doing and being in the world, taking action. The left side is our feminine side. It's going to hold all the memory of our female lineage. It's going to hold all the information and memory around that feminine energy. So the emotions that we might have repressed, or maybe an extraordinary amount of energies or emotions that we haven't processed, or maybe even the intuition aspects of our body. And when we're experiencing pain, it's literally like we're holding on to something, and the pain is telling us like, hello, I'm oversaturated, it's too heavy, I need to release it. So I have been experiencing a lot of physical pain on my right side of my body. And in the last podcast that we did, I disclosed and shared a little bit about my own childhood traumas, sexual abuse, and come to understand that my masculine, or the pain on my masculine side of my body, has to do with an overactive masculine. My masculine was overactively protecting my feminine. I never had any discomforts on my left side, and I would go and like get a massage, and I would say like, oh gosh, I'm like having all this like discomfort on my right side, like, you know, could you just focus on that? And they would get in there and say, you have the same exact knots on both sides, but I didn't feel anything on my feminine. And with some meditative exploration, I realized that a lot of the feminine qualities around like really feeling and noticing, I had numbed it, maybe because of the childhood experiences that I had.
It was interesting